Hey guys, how we doing? So we're back in another video from Annie News about Overlord. And now, when he did his other video on Neurosis Pain Kill, is that the name of the character? I figured there was going to be a 5-part thing where each one was going to be about one of the 5 worst in Nazarick. But by the looks of this, looking at the description, it seems that this one's going to cover the rest, the other 4, which is cool. That's fine. Maybe there's not enough detail to go into all the others, and maybe Neurosis Painkiller is the one that had a lot more stuff to cover, so that's cool. Let's find out who the rest are. So this is who are the worst 5 in Overlord, Nazarick's scariest, most evil NPCs.
As you now know from the Neuronist Painkill video,
I got the name right.
Various individuals of Ainz Ul Gon enjoyed the opportunity to create their own legion of evil minions to go along with the supervillain theme that they had going. While some created cute waifus or maids, and others went for gag characters, some preferred a terrifying, grotesque, or creepy monster instead.
What is
and the 5 worst are the quintessential example of just this.
Right.
So join me as we take a look at the rest of the most evil, most ugly, most supposedly terrifying creatures of Nazarick that each bear the title of the worst.
The worst.
From a general view, the 5 worst is a group of lesser-known, low-level NPCs within Nazarick.
Right.
The name itself derives from the fact that they were designed by their creators to embody something downright awful or terrifying.
Something terrible,
things that their creators were personally afraid of, or nightmare fuel, intended to spook the rest of the guild members. Of the remaining 4 types of worst, we have the worst residence, worst appearance, worst personality, and worst arrow.
Right.
Now, even though I'm already sure you're expecting a whole bunch of grotesque things, here's a not safe for life warning anyway, as we may cover some subject matter that could derive slight miscomfort. Starting us off, we have Kyouhukou, officially translated as Prince of Fear.
Prince of
He's the
Fear,
level 30
that's so
area
cool.
guardian of the Black Capsule, located on the 2nd floor of the catacombs.
Yeah.
Ironically, despite being explicitly designed as nightmare fuel, he's one of the NPCs who are relatively neutral in karma rating, at -10.
Alright.
The fact that
Whereas
it's
Neurosis
so
was like
negative
-400,
means he
wasn't
tilts
it?
slightly in the direction
Wasn't
of
she?
evil rather than good, but only ever so slightly. He comes across as the pragmatic sort.
He was in the
more than
anime, wasn't he,
willing
when
to
they
negotiate
invaded
with
the
others to reach a mutually
tomb.
beneficial agreement, or even help them out if there's no major cost to his assistance. For instance, in one side story released as bonus material, he helped out Hamsuke when she had gotten lost in the catacombs,
Oh, right.
providing her a cockroach escort to guide her back to where she needed to go.
That's cool.
He's also good friends with Kyouhukou, another insectoid guardian,
Makes
who,
sense.
as you know, also has a relatively neutral outlook on things. In any case, neutral karma ratings represent the middle ground between evil and good.
Right.
Kyouhukou doesn't try to spread misery and suffering like those who are evil would, but he also doesn't go out of his way to help people he doesn't know, or doesn't care much about, like those who are good. His main priority seems to be to look after his cockroach army, almost as their de facto patriarch.
Go
They
forth,
follow
my
his
army of
orders with
cockroaches.
slavish obedience, and he does his best to look after their well-being. On a side note, it seems he's not much of a fan of Antoma, as when she gets really hungry, she sometimes snacks on his cockroach.
Oh no!
But also,
I won't be a fan either.
Kyouhukou is
Stop eating my cockroach army!
2 levels, meaning a mage that summons, controls, and powers up allied insects. In his case, he commands the aforementioned cockroaches. The Entomancer functionality is not just provided by the class Entomancer, but also enhanced and supported by other classes with related functionality. For instance, he has 15 levels in Druid Variants, which is a class that specializes in nature-related spells, usually in the form of nature-themed buffs, controlling plants, and the summoning and control of various animals.
Cool.
Druid describes a kind of high-ranking priest from ancient Celtic religions. It became quite popular in fantasy fiction and video games to signify divine spellcasters whose powers, unlike clerics, were not derived from a god, but rather nature itself.
Right.
Druid is likely a base class of Entomancer, as one needs general Druid proficiency before one can specialize in Druid-style magic, specifically those related to insects. So, to be exact, Kyouhukou is an insect druid of 10 levels, a racial class available only to insectoid heteromorphs, and presumably it provides similar abilities to that of a regular druid. If we were to speculate from his insect-themed druid build, perhaps he can summon a swarm of insects to harass his enemies, or create spore plants that fill the air with some kind of fungi that function like some kind of poison or disease debuff. Such abilities may also be available to regular druids, but it would make sense if insect druids have more spells like that in exchange for less of other kinds of spells. As for his remaining 2 racial levels, those remain a bit of a mystery, though it's presumably some kind of basic insectoid heteromorph, something likely related to his cockroach-like appearance.
Yeah.
One probably needed a minimum investment into a base racial class before they could specialize in a racial subclass, like Insect Druid, whereas more advanced and powerful racial subclasses, like Demiurge's Archdevil, may require
He's so cool.
a maxed
I love
out
Demiurge.
before you could ascend to that greater form. The racial abilities stemming from an insectoid aren't exactly clear either. An insectoid like Cocytus has a type of natural exoskeleton armor as a racial ability, though it prevents him from wearing regular body armor.
Alright, you
and
can't wear
never
anything on
reach the
top of
heights
that.
Divine quality. They did, however, have their own advantages, like not being dropped on death, cheaper upgrade costs,
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
would grow with respect to your level. Even the armor repair process wasn't necessary, as healing spells would restore any damage taken. Now, since Kyouhukou wears lots of different equipment, like jewelry and a cape, but doesn't wear
Cape's
any
so
body
weird.
armor, I believe it's a safe assumption that he too has an exoskeleton. Keep in mind, though, not all insectoids have natural armor. Touch Me was said to be some kind of insectoid race, but he wears regular armor.
Regular armor,
So
yeah.
clearly, different base insectoid races
Have different-
give different
yeah.
racial abilities. Now, as for his job classes, he has 5 levels in High Druid, presumably to be a class that requires a lower-leveled base Druid class, but provides more powerful Druid abilities, including access to higher-tier spells. We also see he has Summoner, obviously a class that
Not
specializes in
much
summoning,
like, but yeah.
but most spellcasting classes have some access
yeah.
to summon spells, so the Summoner class isn't really a requirement to be able to use these spells. It's more likely that the Summoner class probably becomes available to anyone who has learned a summon spell, and enhances one's existing summon ability, potentially powering them up, reducing their mana cost, increasing their quantity, providing rare enhancements, or letting the user cast a summon spell a few times a day for free.
Right, so reduces the...
Then his final class is Entomancer, which is a further specialization into summoning and controlling insects, and may even grant one the ability to have insect familiars. The reason I say this is because his insect family are actually explicitly referred to as his familiars.
Oh.
Traditionally, the word was used to refer to a supposed demon that took on the appearance of a benign animal, which would secretly serve a witch and do her evil bidding. From there, it became a popular trope of fantasy fiction, though the traditional requirement that they had to be demons was
Was that the thing from Blue
Generally
Exorcist?
speaking, powerful
Yeah, it is.
spellcasters would use their magic to bind a lesser creature like an animal into service, and in the process, the animal would then become more powerful and intelligent. Mechanics-wise, familiars in Yggdrasil might be sort of a hybrid between summons and NPC mercenaries, as in both were created through magical means, though familiars lasted for an indefinite amount of time, and are summoned using mana. Familiars could also be summoned for use in very unusual ways, as we saw with Entoma's bug weapons. But
So
accessing
cool.
these rare abilities would require a larger class investment, and be limited to a narrow, specific type of creature.
Stuff like that always
allowing
reminds me of, like,
a
Big Bad
knowledgeable
Beetleborgs
opponent
from when I was a
to prepare a
kid.
counter, like Evil Eye's Verminbane. Now, shifting back to Kyouhukou, I guess I never even said what he's the worst of.
Yeah.
He carries the title of Worst Residence.
Right.
Something I'm sure you'll agree is well earned.
Ooh, yeah.
The name is rooted in the fact that he lives with his army of cockroaches, which are, well,
Bah.
pretty scary to be
Bah.
honest. His family, as familiars instead of summons, require sleep, exercise, food, and so on. And it's that latter part that's important. See, the cockroaches are carnivorous, and he has thousands of them, meaning they require a very large amount of living food each
yeah.
day. It appears that Ainz forgot to provide much in the way of food for them,
Oh, no.
or just told them to find a way to deal with it, because he didn't really want to have to deal with the hassle himself,
Huh.
leading Kyouhukou and his cockroaches to have to engage in regular rounds of cannibalism in order to survive.
Oh, wow.
So Heavy Masher, one of the worker groups who invaded Nazarick in Season 3, he got to experience firsthand just how terrifying a room
Yep.
full of starving cockroaches could be. Sure, the
Horrible.
anime made it seem pretty devastating to get devoured by a bunch of cockroaches, but the way that the light novel describes it is much, much more graphic and explicit.
Oh, really?
The worst part is, that's not even the worst part.
Oh, no.
I agree that drowning and then being eaten alive by an ocean of
Cockroaches,
writhing cockroaches is a pretty gruesome way to go.
Ugh.
But there's more.
Oh,
Even
no.
some of the Guardians, particularly Mare and Aura, find him and his cockroach family to be quite revolting.
Oh.
After all, they know exactly what him and his cockroach horde are supposed to be used for. If you recall back in Season 2, Mare was ordered by Demiurge to locate and kidnap an Eight Fingers leader.
Yep.
The one that he ended up grabbing was Hilma, the leader of the drug trade division.
Just bang.
Apparently, he was told to hand her over to Kyouhukou, who at the time was under orders to torture her. By what means, you ask? Oh, you know, the usual. Just by having his cockroaches repeatedly devour her internal organs before they were then healed back up again. Then just repeat that cycle endlessly.
It's horrible.
It was after this that she actually became a double agent for Nazarick.
Yep.
Ordered to go back to the Eight Fingers and sell out the other division heads.
Oh, you
then
would after that,
proceeded to
God.
get the same treatment. This is what resulted in Nazarick's complete control over the Reyestes Kingdom's underworld. Though, after hearing all this, I feel I have the need to remind you, Kyouhukou is still a pretty chill guy. Unless he and his cockroaches are particularly hungry, or Nazarick just happens to need a spare torturer that day. Hell, maybe Demiurge was just trying to be nice to his fellow NPCs and kill two birds with one stone. You know, feed Kyouhukou and his starving family, while also torture some enemies of Nazarick.
Yeah.
After
Help
all,
everybody
the
out.
job of torturer really belongs to Neuromys,
Neurosys, yeah.
who, if you remember from the last video, was very good at causing eternal suffering and
Yeah.
existential terror, but still not as good as this next member. Before getting to him, you should know that there is very little known about the last three members of the Five Worst. They've never appeared on screen and have only been mentioned or alluded to by others. But we do know enough to give you at least some information.
Oh, okay.
We'll start with Gesho Kukochuo, who I'm just going to abbreviate as Gasho right now.
Right.
He's given
Thank
the
you.
title of Worst Appearance.
Worst appearance.
Though, since we've never actually seen him, feel free to let
Can't
your
really
imagination run
judge.
wild. He's the area guardian of the Large Hole, a region inside Floor 6.
The large hole.
His name is Japanese for Sparganum King. But what's
Right.
a Sparganum?
Yeah, what's
I'm
Sparganum?
glad you asked. They're a breed of tapeworms native to the east who are fairly well known for causing a rather mortifying infection called sparganosis. The tapeworms enter your body as larvae in contaminated
Parasite, that makes them so
water,
weird.
and then migrate to some random area in your body and grow inside you, eating away at your very flesh until they are several centimeters long. They can appear basically anywhere in your body, including your brain or eyes, though typically they'll appear somewhere on your body just below your skin, like your arm or your chest. Incidentally, the kanji which spells Gashokukochuo also translates to mean hungry, to eat or a meal, fox or sly, insect, and king.
Wow.
In that order. Everything making up the kanji seems pretty relevant and self-explanatory, except for fox, so allow me to try to explain. Foxes in Japanese Shinto mythology are intelligent, long-lived spirits who served as messengers of the gods, as well as were sly creatures and
It's that
tricksters
wolf and
who can
spice.
shapeshift
Spice and
into
wolf.
humans to play
Wolf and
pranks on
spice.
them. The original word for Sparganum included this kanji, read as ko, meaning orphan or alone, which would be a rather unsuitable name for a king. That said, a good alternative to this is this, which can also be pronounced ko and means silkworm.
Right.
Assuming Maruyama isn't doing anything too complicated or going for something obscure with the fox kanji, the best interpretation would just be sly. So his name could be translated as the sly, ravenous insect king.
Wow, that's
meaning
cool.
that Gasho is a king of parasites, who uses humans and animals as hosts. And apparently, he and his family were undergoing a bit of a housing crisis
That's
back
the
in the beginning of
worst appearance as
Season
well.
3. You see, they just didn't have enough homes for all their little Sparganum larvae. Not to fear, though. Ainz was there to save the day.
Of course.
And he sent down 2 helpers to resolve the crisis. I mean, there were a lot of helpful workers who showed up to Nazarick looking for a payday. Specifically, I'm sure you remember Hecarim, the leader of Foresight, and Imina, his lover, the half-elf archer. Yep, that's where they ended up after Ainz had paralyzed them. Sucks to be them.
Oh.
Just for reference too,
Damn.
Arsh was killed instantly by Shaltir and her body divided up amongst many different servants as food and resources, while Robberdick was used as an experiment by Ainz to determine how divine magic works.
Oh,
He ended
God.
up going insane due to the repeated memory modifications that Ainz subjected him to.
Wow, that's messed
So,
up.
when you really think about it, Arsh got off pretty easily, but back to Hecarim and Imina. Presumably, the 2 of them would be infected with hundreds of thousands of these little Sparganum creatures. Of course, they would be kept alive, and quite possibly even conscious as long as possible, just so that their bodies wouldn't decay or rot, resulting in suitable homes to breed endless generations of Sparganum worms.
No, it's
Basically,
horrible.
when Hecarim and Imina promised each other that they'd be together forever, well, in a sense, they were right.
Oh, God.
Just paralyzed and in eternal agonizing pain. But at least they have each other. I mean, true
Right.
love conquers all, right?
Right.
Now, moving on to the fourth worst, we have Chakmul, the worst
Chak-
personality.
Ooh.
He's the creation of the guild member Temperance, and commander of the Eric String Orchestra,
Oh,
a group
okay.
of greater doppelgangers. Based on the name of the group, it's presumed he may be styled as some kind of evil orchestra conductor. What worst personality refers to, though, is a little bit vague, but apparently he's similar to Neuronist in that he likes to play around with humans.
Right.
But if you're getting a bit of a J.K. Simmons from Whiplash vibe here, don't worry, I did too. If I had to guess, he's probably a doppelganger himself that enjoys worming his way into a position of trust and confidence with his target, only to end up betraying them in the most shocking and horrifying way possible, just to see the look on their face and relish in their anguish and suffering. That sounds like a pretty bad personality to me, though I think it'd have to be even worse than that for him to top Demiurge and truly earn the title of worst personality. He actually hasn't even been mentioned in any of the official translations,
Right.
so it's not even clear whether the Chakmul translation of the original Japanese is accurate. Assuming it is, though, the name Chakmul is derived from a series of Mesoamerican archaeological sculptures. They are generally either warriors or old women carrying bowls associated with ritual sacrifice and offerings to the gods. So perhaps Chakmul is in some way linked with ritual sacrifice, deceiving victims and luring them in so he can sacrifice them. Or perhaps they are sacrificed to him specifically. Perhaps he steals some part of them, like maybe their worst character trait. If he is a doppelganger,
Which
like
would
I
mean the worst
suggest,
person.
he can
The
read
worst
their mind to
personality
an
thing.
extent in order to understand their personality. So, in the course of sacrificing them, he can add whatever is most awful about them to his personality.
Right.
A quick side note, Jin4 also came up with a decent shot-in-the-dark theory about how he could be a vampire as well.
Oh.
So I'll pin that as the top comment for your reading pleasure. But that's all we've got on the worst personality. Then we have the least known and final worst of the group, and they don't even have a name yet. It's simply known as the worst arrow. It comes from a blog post by Maruyama, who, if I'm interpreting this Google translation accurately, seemed to suggest that it would probably never appear in the light novel.
Oh.
Anyway, arrow is a Japanese word borrowed from the English word erotic, and used as a synonym for a perversion, or sex.
For
So
worst
basically,
perversion.
it's a creature known for having the worst perversion.
Right.
And if you've been around anime long enough, then I think you know exactly what type of monster this thing is. Yup, a tentacle monster.
Yeah.
Well, specifically a roper. Apparently, it kind of looks like a cage of tentacles or something like that.
A tangler.
He also mentions something about aphrodisiacs that may be classified mechanically as contact poisons, which would presumably cause insanity or confusion. But yeah, we'll stop there. I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. Apparently, though, Worst Arrow has a fairly nice, gentle personality, so it generally reserves its capabilities for hostile invaders of Nazarick. And that's it for the 5 worst of Nazarick. But before I go, don't forget that you can still purchase my Succubate and Nabe merch.
They're cool.
So, next Overlord video will be the Shell Tier Part 1 video.
Ooh!
As always, thank you so much for watching.
Ooh, that's gonna be good!
Games for sponsoring this video.
Ah!
Don't forget, you can use the link
Well, let's
in the
talk about
description
Sheltier.
to
So
get
it'll
a free
be
7-day
who is
trial
Sheltier
for
and then how strong is Sheltier. That's
Until next
cool.
time. Ciao.
Boss. Love it. Keep these Overlord videos coming, my man. They're so good. I love learning stuff. Oh. Boss. 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 Sounds cool. Like I said, I thought it would be like that. There's not much information on some of them, so put them in one video. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, yeah. Cool. Thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. It's all you guys. Here's Dan. Bye.